Am I audible? All right. Right. So we have the next session starting in about 5-10 minutes. Um, there's some issue with the webinar in terms of the number of participants. So we will be continuing the session. Please wait because we're giving instructions for the last part of this webinar. So we have concluded with mathematics, we have concluded with aptitude, and we have concluded with drawing. Now the next part of the webinar is the tips that are required for NATA 2018. So we are trying to get uh, this is supposed to be covered by OP General School of Architecture, which is in New Delhi. But they're having some technical issues getting them onto the platform because of the number of participants in the webinar. So, in the meantime, what we'll be doing is we'll be just covering a few tips with regard to what you need to take to the center with you, what you need to prepare for, what kind of scores you should be targeting, and what kind of and how you should split your time. More related to the management part of this webinar. Um, I will just handle a few things for you. Um, right. So right. So some of you have been asking what kind of scores you should be getting for the webinar. What kind of scores you should be getting. Right, I've got Shaun here, Shaun D'Sa, who is the director of DP Labs and the founder of DP Labs. He will be taking the next few minutes for you. It's me about it, just for the moment for you. But this is the mic.
Yeah, hello, this is Shaun here. So I'm going to basically, in addition to whatever was spoken, I'm going to possibly show you some examples and some main points that y'all can keep into, y'all can keep into consideration while answering the NATA exam. Just give me a minute so I can just open the next, some examples that I want to show you. Just hold on for a minute. And then just log out of your.
Yeah. Are you taking it? What are you doing this for?
And I will be discussing team sketches and polygraphy. Okay. Yeah, I will be discussing team sketches and 2D graphic, quick overview, and after that, Dinesh also will be saying a few words. So just give me a minute. I will just pull up the necessary examples, and then we can start off. I'm just logging into an Enigma account. Yes, okay, it's opening up. I will be sharing my screen in a minute. Okay, so I have shared my screen. I hope you can see the screen now. Fine. Okay, so now You can see a lot of examples that I'm throwing up here on Team Sketch. Couple of interior examples, exterior examples. For example, let's have a look at this one. Now, if you can have a look at this, hold on. Yes. So if you have a look at this uh, drawing here, it is basically you are playing basketball and there are people around you. I mean, you're in the middle of a game, draw what you see. So let's see the different correct points that are uh, drawn in this painting. Okay. The first and foremost is have you got the theme correct? That's pretty basic. I am a player in the field. By mistake, you should draw that you're a spectator in the crowd. Your perspective should be such that you are in the field. That's just the basic that you've got the basic theme right. Okay, you cannot be so wrong. But just saying. Second and the most important thing is how is your perspective, your basic perspective? Where is my horizon line? So if I look at this painting here or this drawing here, my horizon line is on the right level. It is not high, it is not too low. In fact, if you notice here, it is on the same eye level as this player here to my right, which I have highlighted here. Let's say this is say approximately your horizon line. So they have got the horizon line correct. Uh, so this and the perspective correct is from a 2 point perspective. So that's pretty good. Now, third thing is your sense of detailing, your sense of observation. For example, you put number 10 on this person's shirt, or say, for example, if you look at this one person in the crowd, he is putting his hands up, shows some little involvement of this person in the crowd. One, two players in action here, one player jumping up, putting the basketball in. Basically, in simple words, how much detail you can show in general. Now, what more the student could have done here is, can you see the background walls are a little bare? Possibly something could have come in the background showing some detail. Maybe a door could have come here, a big door could have come in one of them, just showing, exit into another space. A little more detail can be added. But of course, there's a sense of detail, sense of observation is what definitely should come out into this artwork. Now, if I have a look at this drawing here, can you see here? Um, Again, my sense of perspective, I'm on the table, this is correct. Detailing, number one, yes, plenty of detail all over the place, even like a cake out here, something all over the place. More importantly, more than detail, to add to that is your textures, shading, shadow. All this adds to making the drawing more and more beautiful. Now, there's one important thing that you can keep in mind is foreground, middle ground, and background. What do I mean by this? Foreground is something that's close to you, like say this person's hand or this box of sweets out here. Middle ground could be the person's face. When you're so close up on this picture, the foreground and middle ground is such a huge difference. And a background could be, a fan or something like far into the distance. Uh, could be a background. Now, adding all these three, foreground, middle ground, and background, makes a world of a difference. Now, say for example, if I look at this shot here, uh, yes. So the foreground is your stumps, your cricket stumps, and say the batsman here next to you. The middle ground could be the bowler out there, but definitely there is some details missing. What are the details missing? There could be some players in the field, right? That detail is missing. There could be a little more ads on the board, some ads all around. Now, background, yes, he has drawn some clouds in the background, but he could have also drawn some buildings here and there. To draw those buildings won't take time, but the moment you draw background, like buildings, clouds, trees, mountains in the distance, it adds tremendous depth to your painting, or your drawing. So a little bit of addition, but it adds so much of value. Okay, uh, so please keep this in mind. foreground, background, background. And of course, sometimes they will ask you to color the sketch. You must keep enough of time to color your sketch as well. Okay, so timing is key. You have to keep an eye on the time, and you got to be really fast. There's no point in saying, "Oh, there were two drawings. I did one drawing, but I had no time to finish the second drawing." Sort of, no, you can't say that. In fact, that's actually a disaster. If you could do something and you didn't have the time, that's really bad. So you got to be really fast, keep an eye on the time, and the amount of detail, the amount of coloring, the amount of texture that you put in should be relative to your time. I hope you understand that very clearly. Meaning, if you're running out of time, then stop putting in more details. At least you got the base. It's better to have a good 80% of both the questions done rather than 100% of one and maybe 10-15% of the next sketch. Two sketches can be asked. In fact, they can ask you two theme sketches, they can ask you a theme sketch, a 2D graphic sketch, or they can ask you theme sketch or a 3D still life or a mirroring and scaling, any sort of combination. Traditionally, they used to ask one theme, one 2D graphic, and one 3D composition, but that pattern changed last year when they can even ask you two theme sketches. Okay, so that's a quick talk about. Okay, let me see if any other drawing is there which shows some good foreground, midground, background. Yeah, at least through this I can see some things in the distance, but over here where my cursor is right now, to the right of this landscape, still very empty. That could have been improvised on. And of course, you could have people walking around, you know, their families walking around. Basically, a little more detail would be extremely helpful out here. Okay, this one, let's see this drawing. Yeah, it's a little tilted, but I like the detailing out here, and especially the clouds and the birds and things like that. It's very good. So this person is taking a photograph of some ruins. So this clearly shows you your foreground, background, and your background in the distance. Some trees or some small buildings in the distance would have made a world of difference. In fact, actually, background is the quickest thing to draw, but it adds the most value to your artwork. Okay, fine. So I will quickly go through. So this is some example on maybe a fish islands sort of buildings that are drawn and colored. It's interesting. Okay, so quickly let me go through some 2D examples. 2D graphic examples. Just hold on. Okay, sorry, I'm back. I was just going to explain about 2D graphic. Now, obviously, first thing, couple of points on 2D graphic is obviously first thing you need to know your color theory very well. Uh, what are primaries, secondaries, additive primaries, subtractive primaries, what are triadic colors, this is opposite colors, analogous, monochromatic. This is something that you need to know really well. If you have not gone through your color theory, please go through it. Now they could keep it open and say use any amount of colors. They could say use three or four colors, or they could say use opposite colors or split complementary colors. You need to know your color theory very well from two points of view. Number one is from a question point of view when they ask you, and number two, even personally, uh, when you are coloring something, it's always good to go into the color theory. Okay, so number one is color theory. Second is basic composition. For example, if you can see these two paintings, one to the left and one to the right, the painting to the right, or the 2D graphic rather, to your right, many students make a mistake of within the space possibly drawing something here only in the center and not drawing anything on the side, right? Um, so two comparisons. If you have time, always it's yes, not have time. You have to always try and fill in a background. So the same tree to your left looks so much more interesting than the one to your right. Do not think that all the edges on the side are not important. They're all important, and it's all part of your composition, tree composition. Okay. Um, Let us Okay, now another point I want to make out here is don't draw too much of small detail here in 2D composition because you have to color it as well. So you can't draw things too small, you can't draw things too big, but if you have to optimize, the answer is to optimize so that not only you draw, you should be able to color it. And when I say wallpaper or background, if you can see for the street, at the background there are some round circles or bubbles or whatever it may be. Background can, like, say, for example, if you look at your WhatsApp chat, okay, in your chat box at the back, there's a little graphic, a little text, very, very small. You can see a bicycle, you can see something. It's like a wallpaper, okay? It's there, it's subtly at the background, but it adds so much of interest. So be careful, don't draw it in too much of detail. Like I said once again, your most important factor here is time, okay? So make sure that you finish it in a given amount of time. Another thing about a 2D graphic world is a 2D graphic world is not realistic, right? Yeah, I can have a green lion in a 2D graphic world. It's not. I can have a face that is absolutely a square, okay? And 2D graphic world is something that is nice and flat. So there's no gravity, there's no physical dimensions in a 2D graphic world. I mean, no, sorry, the laws of physics don't really apply in a 2D graphic world, so therefore it gives you so much of scope to do an abstract painting or something like that. Okay. Quickly, I can go through the basics, say, for example, basic geometric shapes. It's a very popular type of question. Using basic geometric shapes, create an interesting question, color it with two colors, three colors of your choice, color it with monochromatic colors. This is something that you should um, be able to do very easily. Now, a variation of this kind of a question, okay, very important is, you know, 2D, using only 2D graphic shapes depict speed, movement, growth, those kind of questions. So you should be able to depict speed, movement, growth, but please don't violate. I've seen a lot of students violating things like, uh, they say use only basic geometric shapes, but they start putting lines, they start putting other things, and that's when you are breaking the rule. Okay, you have to give the shapes that they specify. So if you look at this example here, it's an incomplete painting drawing, of course, and it doesn't have a background or wallpaper. But the point is, the question you're given was using basic geometric shapes, circle, rectangle, and triangle, depict movement. So the student has drawn a tree and drawn some sort of fruit, like some whatever, apples, oranges, whatever it is, falling down from a tree. So this kind of depicts movement. It's a very interesting way of depicting movement. Or I'll show you another example where, can you see here, using only basic geometric shapes, depict movement. Can you see this? Can you see how beautifully the composition of these dolphins are done? Can you see the squares and rectangles? It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And also the birds in the sky. Can you see the birds in the sky? Just pure rectangles. Okay, very very interestingly done, and it shows that there's some. It shows this thing is so dynamic. It shows movement. You can see the waves. Okay, a very interesting composition, and it just covers quite a bit of space out there. So um, that is one thing. Another thing I want to show you under profiles. Say I'll show you a very good example. See, this is a beautiful example. Notice how this is like it's loading on the screen. Look, this is basically using the profiles of bottles or anything, create a 2D composition, see how they intersect, see how they overlap, see how they change in direction, and more importantly, see how it is nice and full, even the edges. Like some of the bottles are going half out of the page. In fact, you can imagine a huge bed sheet, okay, in which or a huge piece of cloth where there's a print on it. Okay, and if you're cutting a small sample inside the cloth, what happens is on the edge of your cut or your sample, the graphic kind of gets cut. Like half of the graphic is in the sample, half of the graphic is outside. So if you play with this, it looks very interesting. Okay, play with this and do something like that. It looks very interesting. Okay. Another thing I want to show you here is have a look at these. These are candles. Say, for example, using the profile of candles, create an interesting composition. Now, if you see another drawing that I have here, it's loading just a minute. Uh, yeah. Can you see these candles? Can you see the flames can be triangular in shape? So the flames will not be realistic, but it's an indication of candles. Okay. So keep that in mind. 2D graphic. Um, then, of course, just if you get something like straight lines and curved lines, things are. This is the question here: is using only straight lines and curved lines create an interesting composition? This is very easy. Um, what I want to also cover possibly is a bit of, say, emotions. Okay, so emotions are something that are not as difficult as you think. You like say if the student was given happy here. When you say happy, it doesn't have to, you don't have to obviously draw some smiley faces or something. You can play number one with the basic lines and curves. Number two is you can play with colors. Read. So read about what emotions are linked to what colors. Like say blue, what does blue signify? What does red signify? What does purple signify? White. Okay, understand psychological effect of colors on humans. You can use that to play with your graphic, especially if you're given words. You can get, in fact, for your graphic, you can get words like anger, irritation, happy, sad, celebration, attraction, all these kind of words which you should represent as a graphic. It is it is easy. It is not difficult. Anger. Okay, let's look at some examples. Love. Uh, this can be clash, irritation. This can be claustrophobic or shy, uh, crazy, or spinning, or celebration, irritation, jealousy, celebration, happiness. So some examples. I like this. This is fear. Okay. I hope the images are loading as fast as I talk. Festa, or something like that. Okay. So it's easy. It's not too difficult at all. In fact, if you get a question like this, so say, okay, have this look at this one. This is like calm or soothing. Uh, Calm or soothing or something like that. Okay. Um, yeah. So um, next question. Okay. Next type of topic: photographic emotions. Posters. Okay, fine. Then I want to talk about posters and pictograms. Posters, graphic. See, there is. I have put up some examples on DK Lab's Pinterest page. In fact, you all can kind of write this down. This is like, uh, just hold on, just give me a minute, please hold on. Okay, so yeah, so go to this, go to this, go to this page, Pinterest, in.pinterest.com. Uh, s.com/diculabs. Uh, Should load. Possibly I can send a link there. Now, why this page? Because this page has many boards. Okay, yes, this is the link. link.pinterest.com/detailage. Maybe I could share the message to all questions. Mm, I think I've sent the link. So the link is in.pinterest.com/dqlabs. I have now a lot of students have asked me, please put some examples. You can click on boards. Okay, I've created different boards here. The different boards are graphic, logo design, 2D composition. There is also posters, book covers, say book covers and posters. If you click, say if I click on say logos, illustration, graphic perspective, hold on. Poster cover. Yes, logos. So if I click on this board of say logos, there are many examples that I've put here, which students you can have a look at, you can follow, right? You can get some examples and good logos. So please go through this page. A lot of students have asked me for examples. I put up a lot of examples here, simple examples, but look very neat. And you can get that on in.pinterest.com/dqlabs, or you can just go to dqlabs.in, the regular page, dqlabs.in, and you can go right down to the footer. And in the footer, if you see this Pinterest here, you can click on that and you can get that link. Okay. So that's another page where you can get a lot of information on graphic design, okay, and 3D graphic. So that's the quick tips I wanted to talk to you now. Please keep an eye on the time. That's the most important. Okay, there's no point in going excessive for if you cannot handle the time. So keep an eye on time. Like I said, it's better to finish 80% of both rather than 100% of one and hardly 10% of the second drawing. That's not good. Hold on. Yes, because the bulk of your marks is what you're going to get for majority of your drawing. Detail, yes, adds to the few extra points, but I'd rather finish 80% of both. If you can finish 100% of what you have in mind in both, nothing like it. That's awesome. So I'm going to switch over to Umesh Kumar, and he has some few points that he wants to talk to you. Just please hold on for 2 minutes. Umesh will join and continue with this call.